Hello, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Call Reviews, the Inside Track. We do have an exciting show for you today. Again, welcome to Human plus AI Synergy, how smart dealerships are leveraging this technology and why the future of dealer conversations is not either or. I'm joined today by our partners, Scale Voice, both Mr. Martin Rezab and Jonathan Ferguson. Guys, welcome to the show. How are you today?
How's it going? We're great.
A little bit of a rough start there, but we're gonna get through it, right?
Absolutely.
Martin and Jonathan were watching me work my magic on the back end as we got started. So hopefully everybody is seeing and hearing us. A little bit of housekeeping before we jump in. You can see, as you guys have all already been using that audience chat there, make sure that you get your questions in, get your comments in. We keep these, if it's the first time joining us, we keep these a little loose. And this is interview style, fireside chat. We're very used to streaming and having conversations with the audience, so throw them in there. If you have a question that you want to put in the Q&A panel for Martin or Jonathan or myself, go ahead and toss it in there as well, but feel free to use the chat. So, guys, let's go ahead and get started, right? So we're talking a lot about AI, and I know, Jonathan, you and I we're both actually in Austin, which is very rare to have partners in the same place as me. Which is fun. So we've had coffee and had a lot of in-depth conversations about this. Martin, you and I have been talking over the last 6 months or so that we've been working together. So before we really dive in, I want the audience to get to know Scale Voice just a little bit more. Martin, we'll throw this first one to you. Can you give us a quick overview of Scale Voice, who you are, what you're doing in the automotive space, and really just kind of what makes you special? Why did you start here?
Yeah. So thanks. Hi, guys. Sorry for my weird accent. I'm from Europe, so you'll have to go on with it, and I will keep talking like this for the entire interview. We've started with Scale Voice 4 years back, actually, when the first LLM models came out. Our background is in automotive. We are coming from the largest independent automotive group in Central Europe, which had 320 people calling, and we were trying initially automate everything for that group, and the only thing which we figured is impossible to resolve is calls. And that's where we started. So our first customer was surprisingly our parenting company, Aures, where we kicked in, and we started to build on voice AI. After 60 days, we have first POC. After 120 days, we were live with a first customer. That's today almost 3.5 years back.
Sure.
And from there, obviously, evolution, expansion to US market, meeting amazing team in Call Review, and the rest is history now. Hopefully, a bright future moving forward.
Yep, we love it. Excuse me, I just had to take a quick drink there. The excitement before the event got me a little bit parched. So as we continue on, what led you guys to build Scale Voice, and how is it traditional from traditional call handling or AI solutions that are out there?
So I think the biggest difference I see compared to, let's say, the traditional voice AI solutions are two. One is we only do auto. Mm-hmm. So if you go with anyone non-auto, we first, as Aures was helping us initially, we got 300,000 recordings from them from the past years, and we trained our AI on that. That was a small head start we got over everyone else. I think the second piece is that we started on outbound. So we have just this year over 1,200,000 outbound calls done, trying to schedule appointments, either sell my car, test drives, whatever you can think of. So that's the two biggest differences, and I think the experience. Wasn't sure if to say it over here, but I think everybody learns by fuck-upping. Mm-hmm. So we did too. The good thing now is that we learned a lot over the time, because you learn. For everyone, AI is new for everyone. There is no one who knows it for 15 years. It wasn't around for 15 years. So yep. The experts on AI have 4 years of experience, and we are trying to be the best out of the best.
Yep. No, I love it. And that's why, we're excited as always to partner with you and find very cool technology companies. So let's go ahead. We learned a little bit about Scale Voice, but that's not why we're here to talk about. We will get into that more and more throughout the conversation. So let's dive into the actual topic, guys, and start understanding and kind of breaking down what this AI versus human is debate, right? And the synergies between staff and AI and why that matters a lot. And dealers, I've had this conversation with a lot of dealers dealers, Jonathan, I know you have, and Martin, you have as well, often assume that they have to choose between automating or people. But reality is the most successful stores, especially the ones that we've worked in together so far, are starting to leverage both. So, Jonathan, why don't we start with you since we just heard from Martin? Why do you think the AI versus human debate is still something that persists in automotive retail and is so prevalent?
Well, I think underlying all of it is maybe a little bit of fear still. One of the misconceptions is that it's coming to take our jobs, and what I've seen personally is that, and what I tell dealers all the time is that this is really meant to work side by side with you to enable your service and sales staff to do what they do best, right? So if you sat your best employees down and did one-on-ones with them, personally, I don't want my best service advisor to tell me that they answer phones. That's the best thing, that's the most value they bring to the table. So, what the most common misconception is, hey, this is coming to take all of my job. And that's just not the case at all. So we want the service and sales teams at automotive dealers to be really focused on having meaningful conversations that produce ROI. Because let's be real, that's why we're here.
Yep, completely agree. And I think that's part of what we're hearing on our side too. Is I've got some of these dealerships that we work with. They are very they've been around for 100 years now. So they've built this staff and this loyalty, and they don't want to supplement or they don't want to not supplement but supplant their human teammates because they recognize that they're real. There's lives on the line, not lives on the line, but like employment. You guys see what I'm saying there? Very Terminator Matrix-y real quick with that one. So from y'all's experience, where does that human interaction add the most value, and where does AI step in and really get the best? I know I have a lot of thoughts on this, but I want to hear from you guys first. And either one of you jump in.
Yeah, so there's we don't want the bot experience, but also one of the major things that I took away in one of my first conversations with Ben, the CEO of Call Review, is how much he values trust. And we align perfectly with that. We don't want to we don't want to lie about this being AI when someone calls in. Mm-hmm. We don't want to try to fool people into talking to a bot. We understand that some people are just going to hang up because they're used to press 1, press 2, and just that customer experience. So having an on-brand AI voice model that can actually have a conversation all the way through to booking a service appointment is really, really important and valuable to these guys. And it helps us earn that trust. Right. So whenever we see the numbers and we see the conversion numbers, this is something that is staying on brand for their particular dealerships, and it's just a really nice extension to the training that they've already given their sales and service teams.
Sure, that makes total sense. Martin, anything to add there?
No, I think anyone who's claiming that AI can now replace people is wrong.
Yep.
Now, do I think that long time? Is it possible? Perhaps. It's not there. It's not there yet. The tech's not there yet. The people are not used to it yet. So both of it has to happen. And the best experience, like again, speaking of the experience of our customers, now our goal is to drive as much revenue as possible. Their goal is to drive as much revenue as possible. And best results, of course, we did tests once against another, but the best results comes when you combine the effort to actually drive the additional revenue. So that's it. That's just fact at this point. So that's how we want to do it.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. The point that you guys both brought up is because the dealerships that we've worked in, that we've had conversations with together, and we're actually working in together, there's a lot of I've noticed the kind of trend is, it's not hesitation, but it's almost, fear of the unknown. And I think about and it's figuring out how to really dial that in to make sure that it's not replacing, but it's supplementing, right? It's handling one of the things we've talked about a lot is it's handling the more what we would call low value calls, right? Those calls that bog your people down all day long, where they could be focusing on what high value service lane deal, like maybe a transmission or something like that, or they're making the AI teammate is making that outbound call and prepping that lead. Right, so then it's transferring it to a new person. One of the things I know, Martin, you and I have talked about is those outbound calls, how they're making the calls out for the lease renewals and starting that conversation, or starting the conversation around a trade-in call and then bringing that in, which drives me, into our next topic, right, around the efficiency and profitability without adding the headcount, right? Everybody's facing rising costs these days. We're facing them. You guys are facing them. And I know, we're very sensitive to our automotive retail partners that are absolutely facing them. So how did the promise of DVAs live up to that efficiency gains by covering calls and automating, like I just kind of talked about? What are some of the most common dealership pain points that a DVA can solve right away that you guys are seeing?
Well, yeah. I think over there it's build around what we are trying to solve. So let's say that dealers are amazing. They are, of course, but there is always a leak. And the only thing which is different in every company and every business is the size of the leak. And the leakages can be overflow calls, because you cannot have enough stuff for the peak in the morning on Monday, because that just doesn't make sense. But on the other hand, you don't want to drop those calls, because if you drop them, now I have to admit I'm not a loyal customer of one dealership. So when I'm driving to work and I want to schedule an oil change, if you don't answer the phone, the thing I do on my phone is like scroll down, capture the next one, and I call the next one. If they answer, the first dealer just dropped the business, because I'm not doing
right.
it. Second piece, and I think it's what we see extremely valuable, is time to approach a customer who is interested to talking to you. Meaning they created a lead, either sell my car lead or test drive lead. Now, it would be best case scenario within a few minutes, being 5, let's say, people call. That's the best case scenario. Now, impossible to do at all times and impossible to cover at all volumes. If you drop it and you call in 30 minutes, I think you have the data to see what's the conversion rate drop. If you call in 2 hours, what's the conversion rate drop? Now, the AI can be set in multiple ways. One of them is call immediately, and the first line would be AI. And in 7 seconds, that customer just didn't leave your web page yet, and he already is talking to your company. The second one is give people the first layer, give them the 5 minutes, because I'm going to admit this, people has better conversion rates if they are able to reach on a first attempt. But AI is more consistent, AI is faster, AI is going to call you in 3 hours again. And if you tell me, I don't have time, call me in 37 minutes, I'm going to call you in 37 minutes sharp. Or I'm not. The AI is going to call you in 37 minutes sharp.
Yeah, the way I like to think about this is, and you kind of touched on that point a little bit, Martin, is it's building a defensive, will this be put into an AI bulleted email? We can make sure that happens, Nathan, if you'd like. We'll get a summary out with it. So it really puts a defensible moat around your dealership, right? Where you're now taking that initial action, which we all know and we've all seen, and it's giving you the ability to take the oldest piece of technology. And if you've joined the show before, I harp on this a little bit, but the oldest piece of technology at a dealership, which is still arguably one of the most important, if not the most important technologies, and allowing you to build a defensible moat around that allows you to have real-time communications and get back with customers in an almost immediate method, versus waiting for that lead coming in and then 24 hours later your rep gets thing. But you can set it up in a way, and I've seen this do with y'all's platform and many other platforms, where they're setting up in a way that it goes and it captures that first initial meeting. So now when your rep's calling, they have all that information and they're ready to go and they're armed with that in that conversation. So it's not a discovery call. It's almost like the AI teammate is having that discovery call, and then the salesperson is following up to bring value just like you would in a normal sales motion that you guys go through and we go through. So the next one, in terms of headcount, how should dealers be really thinking about ROI? Not necessarily from a reduced staff needs, but just making staff more effective. What are some of the good metrics that you guys look at, or say that dealerships should be eyeing for this type of tool?
When we look at this, we look at always the latter. We want to make your current staff more effective, right? We want you to have to hire more people to actually, when you're scheduling more service appointments, you need more technicians. So that's a perfect world, right? Where we are picking up the slacks, being, like Martin said, the first line of defense to make. And we can't say this enough. We want your people to focus on what they do best more often, right? So if you have your most talented people worrying about chasing down missed phone calls, which are a huge pain point in this particular in the service drive, then something's wrong with that. And that's how leveraging AI has really shown. I know with the dealer group that we personally visited, we did the numbers, and it was something like 16,000 calls that were missed completely.
Yep.
And it doesn't take a mathematician to figure out that the return on investment with the cost of this solution is in their favor.
Yeah, absolutely. Martin, anything to add there?
I'm good with the answer, I think. So I will leave you to follow up with the question.
So, Jonathan, you gave us an example there of how that's used to scale a little bit faster. And hi, Lily, how are you? Good to see you. Lily is one of our managers here at Call Review that works very closely with both Jonathan and Martin. So if you have any questions, throw them in the chat. You've got Lily, guys, as well. So drilling in that a little bit more, like how does, what's a good example of how we've worked together and we can do that? Or, it doesn't have to be something we've worked together, but how the DVA has helped a dealership scale faster without hiring more staff.
So we have a green light to share a case study, so we can speak of that. So we worked together at the Cardinale dealership, and I think the feedback from there, I think the first feedback would be the most amazing one, that the rollout was planned for 3 months. And after first week, the rollout was sped up to next week, we want all stores up and make it happen. So that's the best feedback you can get, because if it generates the demand by itself by performing, that's the amazing performance. What they did was overflow of the service calls and outside of working hours service calls and scheduling appointments. And just when looking at that, and I know this is not new to the US market, but just looking at that performing and bringing the money in, that's amazing, because you see it, and then it's about tweaking it to perform better, to be more on brand. So I recall one of the rooftops is in an area where there is, let's say, less acceptance of voice AI, and it needs to be slower speaking. So we had to tweak the voice, we had to tweak the experience. Originally, we had some 30-year-old lady answering the calls, aka we used her voice. For this particular dealership, we used slightly different voice, slightly older, slightly slower, and you need to check. And I think amazing piece on AI is, thanks to having recording of every conversation, you can analyze every second of the call. You can learn, both on outbound, it's even more powerful, where the people drops. If you are selling something, you want to know, because this is where you're paying the trainers, sales trainers. You are trying to learn the people how to do it, but this way you learn how to do it by, again, you're learning by making mistakes. You analyze where the people drop, you change it, and the most amazing piece on AI is you change it once.
Yep.
It stays there, and you go longer, you go onward and onward and onward. If I'm speaking of our, let's say, customer we have for the longest time, their current version is 427. So we iterate a lot, we learn a lot, and the conversion rate is growing and growing and growing, and that's the goal.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the more interesting things, right? About this tool set is, and where you're pairing when we're pairing with us is, as you, even the DVA is coming into our AI pipeline, and we're seeing the sediment of that call. We're able to analyze that. You're able to look and then not only use y'all's data, but then use our ML pipeline and leverage that conversation to go back and make those iterative tweaks. Just like you said with the one dealership, the 30-year-old female voice was not playing as well as we thought it should. So when we went back, we made some adjustments, and then that market, that segment of the business took off with that, which is one of the things that, it's not a set it and forget it type solution, which I think a lot of people are thinking, I'm going to set AI and then it's just going to take care of for me, right? It's going to go. You're going to have to iterate on it, and the data in is, your output's only going to be as good as the data in. So from Ian, real quick, conversion rates from this case study, baseline, where and how long? And Ian, we can make sure to get you that case study over, but Jonathan, I don't know if you or Martin want to speak to that at all.
Yeah, for sure. So basically the conversion rate from service call, and we need to highlight, not all service call are appointment attempts. Service call can be something. So from all the service call, we have 30% of scheduling rate or appointment rate. And we are live since July. So it's how much? 3 months now.
Mm-hmm.
We are live in this rooftop. So.
Yep. And then, Catherine, I did see, I'm not ignoring your question that you submitted. We'll get to that in just a minute. The case study that we were talking about right here is the service case study, but we'll talk about the sales side of it here in just a little bit. So with that, let's go ahead and touch on a couple of them. We've highlighted a little bit, right? The proof is in the numbers, and dealers using DVAs are seeing improvement. Martin, you just kind of highlight that. So looking a little bit more broadly, right? What are some of the metrics that matter most when dealers are going out and starting to look for this? Because if we think about it, right, I think about the couple of NADAs that I've been to. Everybody's getting hit over the head with AI, and there's so much information out there. So, what are the metrics that you guys think or dealers should be looking out for while they're having the conversations and evaluating the different vendors that are out there?
Well, I can answer after the vendor is evaluated. Difficult is before the vendor is evaluated. That's obviously whatever they say, and you have to either trust it or not.
Yep.
But I think there is multiple things to look at. So everybody makes mistakes. How fast you are able to fix and iterate is one of them. Everybody's learning, as I said. So I think we prize ourselves that we are very, very, very fast in tweaking and fixing and making it better. That's one. Second one, obviously the hard numbers. So how many leads I got, how many calls got connected, how many got over 6 seconds ramp because there is a spam rate filter, how many of them you actually booked an appointment on, how many get some meaningful conversation from it. And that's like, you have all the data. And I think there is one big highlight in working with Call Review is you have literally all the data because you have the people data. We are plugged into Call Review as one of the agents, aka human agents just being AI. So you can see all of the data also for the AI, and you can learn, train, and improve. That's the ultimate goal, because if somebody is telling to you now that their AI is perfect, I call it BS. It's not. So everybody's working on it. Everybody's trying to make it the best. And it's just about how fast you are, how good you are, and how fast you can iterate.
So I think before we get to Catherine's question in the chat there real quick, I want to touch on, because I think it plays into it, and then we'll lead into that. So where do you guys see, you get a DVA in, and then what are some of the, talking about that, Martin, what are some of the quick win metrics that dealerships can expect to see almost immediately after employing a DVA, which kind of drills down a little bit into what you were just talking about?
I would say two key use cases. One, service booking. First day, second day, look at the numbers of appointments booked from your overflow calls or outside of working hours call. Not long till you figure out that in 2 days it paid for itself for a month or a day. Yep. And then you are making money. So that's one. Second one, sell my car use case or any outbound use case where you are trying to capture the customer. Now, speak of KBBICO. That lead is not going just to you as a dealership. That lead is going to 4 or 5 stores at the same time. And guess what? If I, as a human being, am going to book an appointment at some store, I'm very unlikely to make another appointment somewhere else.
Mhm.
Whatever you're trying to do, if you are not first, you lost.
Yep.
And there, I think it's important to measure it.
Something we've been talking about for a long time, for well over 2 years, is speed to lead and engagement, right? So on an outbound use case, I always tell dealers to imagine, placing their inventory online as like their virtual showroom. And every dealer I've ever met, that if I asked them this question, if I came in with my girlfriend and my daughter and we're walking around your showroom, your physical showroom, and no one greets me in 5 minutes, what is your reaction going to be? They're probably going to lose it, right? That's the experience, by and large, that they're getting online. If I'm surfing the web and I click on any of their vehicles on this virtual lot, then I'm a buyer. And the way that it's set up, unfortunately, right now, is that third-party systems turn perfectly good buyers into shoppers in the matter of seconds, right? So not only is the business model set up to see comparable vehicles in a 250-mile radius, speaking of I'm on and I click on an F-150 that I like at your dealership. I like that F-150. I should get a call or a text immediately, right? So engaging immediately is equivalent to greeting that customer where they're at and their initial interest. So that's a huge value for us, and where we see the dealers seeing a lot of value in what we're doing.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. So as we move on, and then Lily, I'm going to invite you to all of these from now on, because you are playing the moderator role in chat very, very well. I enjoy that. So you can, you've now earned yourself that role here at Call Review, my chat moderator. So shifting gears a little bit as we move into the back half of our session, right? And I want to talk a little bit about practical strategies and integrating these both into sales and service workflows. So, and the goal here is to really get help our audience get an understanding of how to integrate this without disrupting the team, right? Because technology only works when it fits seamlessly into your daily dealerships. It's not something else that you need to log into. It's not something that you need to monitor on a daily basis. It should just fit there as well. So how do you ensure, DVAs, or what are some of the things that you guys trigger on when you're going through the setup process to fit into a dealership's workflow so that it's not disruptive?
So again, speaking of the two major use cases, inbound and outbound. Inbound, we are integrated in the major service schedulers, meaning that perfect scenario, which is happening most of the times, you don't know that this exists. It's booking appointments into your scheduler. If the appointment is not booked, you can either see it in a portal, Call Review portal, our portal, Call Review portal, and we are sending text message notification to the BDC team. Email notifications to the BDC team that there is a human callback request for Eric because whatever is the reason for it. So that's a use case. I don't think it disrupts the way you're working at all, because if it's scheduling the appointment, we're perfect. Scheduling an appointment. If it's not scheduling the appointment, it's letting you know that there is a missed call, which you already know that there was a missed call. On top of that you know that there is a missed call, you know what the call was about. Mm-hmm. So what you should resolve with the customer. On the outbound side, again, integrated at this point with Win Solutions, working on CDK as we speak. So over there, again, the trigger to call is then reflected to the summary of the call. All of the information is reflected in the CRM. So I would say same or very similar story for the KBBICO calls. Again, the lead comes in, and then it's over there. Yes, you have to manage the workflows, because it's obviously the experience for the customer would be bad in case voice AI would call representing dealership ABC, mm-hmm. and a human would call 2 minutes later representing the same leadership. In the case both of the calls were answered, I, as a customer, would think that you don't know what you're doing on there. So workflows.
Yep. And then a question came in from Ian over in the Q&A box real quick. Is this tool for voice calls or text as well?
Both.
Both. That's right. I could have answered that. I just wanted to hear it from you guys. It sounds much better when it's coming from you guys. They hear me way too much. So, you talked a little bit about setting up for routing and logging and making sure your workflows, and I mentioned that a little bit ago, is one of the big things is making sure that you have a solid process. Because if you integrate any tool set, without a process in place and understanding where your touch points are going to be along the way, but how do you get the buy-in, and what advice do you guys have for dealerships looking to implement a solution like this when introducing this to staff or managers that are going to be working alongside this DVA? How do you guys position it?
So I'll field this really quick because I've got an opportunity recent to, and I know we're talking about Lily a lot. I wish she was on here, but one of the major things that I heard her in person say was, we don't want you to deviate from your process. And that is one of the major reasons why partnering with Call Review is really, really valuable for us, because you guys understand the ins and outs of each dealer, what their process is. Because dealers there are varying processes, centralized BDC, that some have salespeople that answer the phone, so depending on where they are, we want to really come in and learn each in dealer groups. The different rooftops can be, Mazda can be doing something completely different than BMW, and it can be a lot different across the board. So we like to get to know you as a dealer. What is your current process, and how can we fit into your process? Not, this is everything you have to change, because then you're going to start shooting yourself in the foot when you go ahead and you have to retrain your staff. That is not how we want this to go.
Yep. Awesome. So let's go ahead. We got a little bit of time left, and I want to move into our last section, which is a little bit, maybe future looking, if you will, and what our audience should walk away with from this. So the first question for both of you on this today is, I'm a dealer watching right now, right? What's the number one thing that they should think about when thinking about human and AI synergy at their dealership?
I would say very simple. So imagine the sample I was giving on KBB ICO. Imagine your competition has it and you don't. Look at it from a competitive market. So if they are equipped, you're not, you're losing. I think one more, and this is to the future. Now, Apple is releasing voice AI agents for outbound calls, inbound calls. Mm-hmm. This is going to be the reality of 2026. Is going to be that the consumer will be equipped with agents capable to call to your dealership through voice AI, trying to either book an appointment, shopping around, finding the best price they can get for their transmission check, oil change, whatever. And your dealership will at that point be overloaded by, funny enough, voice AI inbound calls for you that you have to answer. And now your volume is 2,000 to 3,000 calls a month. If the setup I would do for myself as a maniac at this point, I like to get the best price. So I would call 5 closest rooftops and figure out for my Ford F-150, what's the best price of brake inspection and oil change. Now, your call volume just 5 times increased, and it's going to be voice AI calling you. So if you are not equipped with countermeasure to that, then you are getting very, very overloaded. So
that was kind of the point I was making earlier with the defensible moat, right? Thinking about Apple's consumer grade AI agent that you're going to be able to do that with, right? You want to have that moat in now before that happens, because your systems, just to your point, Martin, are going to get slammed. What are some of the questions, pretend that, we're all new dealers and we're looking at this. What are some of the questions that you should be asking vendors, to while you're evaluating this type of technology?
How long are you doing it? How many times have you burned your fingers? How did you resolve it? And how much does it cost?
Yeah, we could just talk about money. So I find that, dealers that I've dealt with are sensitive to the cost. And, I think those are conversations that need to happen up front. And, it's a perk for us to be able to go in and be introduced to dealers by call review. And you guys are very, very transparent as a company. And it's, it all goes back to the trust thing, right? So that really, really helps us to be able to leverage just being able to be straight up. What are your pain points? We don't want to come in and assume that we know what you need. We want to listen, give you realistic expectations, and deliver an insane amount of value.
Awesome. And then, Mike, I saw your question come in via the Q&A panel. So I will forward that over to my team, and we'll reach out to you directly after this and get a question and get that question actioned for you there. So the last question I have for you both, and we'll go ahead and wrap it up, is, how should dealers think about DVAs as part of their long-term technology stack and not just a point solution? And Jonathan, since you're in the frame, we'll start with you, and then we'll go over to Martin to close it out.
So, long-term, I think we're already here. It's, I've heard from my friends and colleagues in big tech, it's not if, it's when. I think we're here. I think long-term, for dealers to really focus on, empowering their staff, on building value. There are so many challenges in automotive right now. And, we are not here to tackle every single challenge, but if we can take this obvious, ROI creation and this pain point off the table so dealers can focus on bigger problems, then it's a win for us. So long-term, being able to remove those pesky missed calls or, the speed to lead issue, that's a win for us on a large scale, long-term.
Awesome. Martin, bring us home.
I strongly believe that it's not a question if they should. Like, I think we were having the discussion today that how many dealers were thinking that they will not put their inventory online? It's the same story. It's the same story moving forward. Like, you have your inventory online. If you're not, then you're not a dealer. It's going to be same with voice AI equipment. Dealers have, compared to other industries, it's incredibly voice powerful industry. So many calls happening. So you need to equip yourself because it's going to increase. And you need to figure out how to handle it. So long term, you will be using a voice AI. It's just a matter of time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I completely agree with that. And as we move into closeout, I think the big takeaway for me from what you just said, Martin, is, and our audience should really look at, is one, just like with any tool set, make sure that you have the process in place and you understand the real need of it. But then two, you're going to need to build that moat around your dealership and make sure, because this is one, it's out of the Pandora's box has been opened, right? It's not something that's going to go away. It's only going to become more prevalent, and you need to make sure you have the systems and tools and processes in place and the knowledge that your people have now, building that. So when it does get here, and it keeps building, you're ready to go. Well, guys, this has been an awesome conversation. I appreciate everybody joining. Jonathan, Martin, thank you again. This was great. I appreciate you guys, and we will see you back on the Inside Track next month. So take care, everybody.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.